Hey y'all, this is a recap for Monday, 8/31, the last day of August in class. So we started off with the search and share of something that is important to you or something that represents something important to you. And then we worked mostly on this Nearpod assignment. So we went to Nearpod, you typed in your code, and then we worked on kind of going through it together. If you were absent on Monday, please use the code right here listed on Google Classroom. And basically it'll take you to the same presentation, but it won't be like led by me, it'll be self-paced. So you can go through it on your own time and then go ahead and submit that for credit if you need to. And then afterward, we spent a little bit of time brainstorming some ecosystem services, what you can give, or what they give to us and how we benefit from them. And then you were supposed to read and click through this article about ecosystem services and then take a look at that. So let me kind of go through really quickly what the Nearpod assignment is about. All right, so this is what your Nearpod should look like. It was mostly a recap on some of the big ideas in Unit 1 here. So the first thing we talked about are kind of the different interactions. So the first prompt was for you to draw any type of interaction that we learned about in Unit 1. So that can be anything like predation, predator-prey, competition, any of the symbiotic relationships like commensalism, parasitism, or mutualism. And then you just were supposed to make a drawing that represents that and shows to me that you know what that means. Cool. The second thing that I wanted you to practice was making food chains. So I had you draw one for an aquatic biome with at least 4 organisms. Make sure your arrows are pointing in the correct direction, and then labeling the types of producers and stuff. One thing that we found out and realized was that not only do aquatic biomes use plants like kelp and algae and stuff like that as producers, but they also use phytoplankton as producers as well, which a lot of you started your food chains with. Great, and then we talked about biomes. And we did some sort of an open-ended question here. Which terrestrial biome do you think has the highest primary productivity? And then which aquatic biome do you think has the most primary productivity? So I had you apply your knowledge of what primary productivity is in terms of photosynthesis and plants. And then we realized that probably places like tropical rainforests have the most primary productivity. And then in terms of the biomes that we learned, probably coral reefs or estuaries and wetlands would probably have the highest net primary productivity because of plants. After that, we went on a virtual field trip and we looked at a few different places. So here is an example of a boreal forest in Canada. And I asked you to take a look around to see what types of vegetation do you see, what do the leaves look like, what do you notice about the ground, the soil, the sky, the climate, if you can see any organisms, that sort of thing. We compared that to this tropical rainforest in Brazil. Here might look kind of different than what you might expect of a normal tropical rainforest. Then I showed this one, which is actually a tundra. A lot of people were surprised by that. Looked around. And again, you can work on this on your own. And then the last place that we checked out was a coral reef. And you can take a look at the different organisms here. So after we went through these kind of virtual field trips, these 360 images, I asked you all a question about what were some things that you noticed, and I kept it super open-ended. There were a lot of responses like the coral was not as colorful as I expected, or the rainforest was not as colorful, or as like magical as I expected, or I didn't see a lot of organisms in that. A lot of people said they expected the tundra to have way more snow and ice, right? So all of these things we'd learned about them in class in a specific way, and now we were looking at pictures and they look kind of different. So we talked about how biomes still can vary within their own biomes, even though they have kind of general characteristics. They also vary by season, and they also vary from the usual pictures that we see. It's not always going to look exactly the same. I remember the first time that I saw a tropical rainforest in Costa Rica, I was completely blown away about how it did not look anything at all like the pictures that I had imagined. It was very wet and rainy and damp and dark, and there weren't as many like bright things or bright organisms that I would have expected to see. And then we talked about, will biomes change? And a lot of people said yes. Things will become drier, will become hotter. So those mid-latitude biomes are going to expand, whereas the other ones are going to shrink. Kind of like we saw with the tundra, right? There wasn't a lot of ice, a lot of snow, a lot of that is going to be going away. And yeah, we talked a lot about those characteristics in particular. And then the last thing that we did was this final fill in the blank, just to review some really important parts about the biogeochemical cycles. So go ahead and work through this, and then if you read back the 4 paragraphs, you'll get the big ideas of the biogeochemical cycles. And then the whole point of this was to talk about ecosystems and how they're always changing and always interacting, and that they provide us with a lot of benefits. And then that's what led us into talking about ecosystem services and what those are and how ecosystems provide for us. Awesome. So that was what we did on Monday. And again, if you weren't in class, please either reach out to me or check Google Classroom for the information. Bye.